Hey, I've got a little secret for everybody out there who comes to YouTube to watch instructional tips and videos. Some of the top instructors out there, even ones that even get featured prominently in the Golf Digest list of top teachers, sometimes they give you really bad advice. Right after this, I'll give you one good example that's also going to help you with your own golf game. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Steve with HitItLonger.com. I continue my journey to hit the ball longer and straighter from tee to green than I ever have before, and hopefully I'll be able to help you do the same. So if you've been watching my channel for some time, you know that I've got an extensive background in the science of kinesiology. That's the scientific analysis of muscular motion, and it's the same field of knowledge that my mentor, Mike Austin, possessed a great deal of knowledge in. Now, what's great about kinesiology and the analysis of the motion at the joints and muscles is that you can really pick apart a motion in any sport or action, and you can evaluate it for its efficiency, its mechanical efficiency. And what it reveals sometimes when you do this is that some motions that are demonstrated and recommended to you by some of your favorite top teaching pros are not always sound advice. Now, this sounds like a really huge, arrogant statement, but let me see if I can convince you about this one example that has to do with the takeaway. So one drill that I see top echelon of teachers give students all the time, and you even see a lot of tour players making this move in the takeaway. You might have tried to do it too. It would be hands in, club out, something like this, because obviously this is the enemy, right? That's the enemy. So you want to make sure that you keep the club head outside the hands, right? Something like that, because otherwise you're going to be in deep trouble right from the beginning. That's what they tell you. So let's look at that motion for a second. It's a motion really of the wrists. Of course, there's two ways, two opposites. You can go the way they say, or you can go this way like this. So let's look at the first one that they recommend. Okay, right here, that's where they want you to be, right there. Now what you'll see here, my left wrist has gone into slight extension. Here is my anatomical neutral position. That's the position I went into. Let's take a look at the right hand now. Okay, and my right wrist has either stayed neutral or possibly at the extreme has even gone into a palmar flexed or flexed position like that. So let's look at that one more time, just like that. Now, but how do we want the club at the top? What do we want the wrist to look like at the top of the swing? Most people would say you'd like the wrist to be, fairly flat. Now, we've seen variations on this that work just fine on tour. In the Hall of Fame, we see Hogan had a little bit of a cupped wrist. You've got Rahm, a little bit of a bowed wrist, a lot of bowed wrists lately. But certainly, you always see the right wrist pinned back pretty deep into a dorsiflexed or extended position like this, like you're going to hold a pizza tray up in the air like this and walk through the restaurant with a pizza tray on your shoulder. So that's pretty much what everybody does. So basically all that tip is telling you to do is delay or even slightly reverse. Let's get it from this angle. So we're trying to get to here. That's our end position right there. So essentially all you're doing is you're either delaying that or you're actually reversing it slightly like this in the extreme case, going into a little bit of a flex position, and then saving it for somewhere up here for the second half of the backswing. So does it really make any difference at all when that happens? Does it have to be delayed? Well, the Hall of Fame, some of the greatest swingers and ball strikers of all time, we're talking about Bobby Jones, talking about like a George Knudson from Canada, just one of the all-time greatest ball strikers. Both had the club head well inside the hands by the time it got to be first parallel. So let's look at this position now. John Daly was in this position as well. Okay, just like that. Now, let's look at that right hand. My right hand is now moving into that extended position towards what it's going to be at the top. So in other words, I just haven't delayed the cocking of that right hand. Instead, I'm kind of starting right at the beginning and just gradually cocking it all the way to the top. So it has a look that the club head's going to get inside this way. But again, all I'm doing is simply not delaying the cocking of that right wrist. And of course, this forearm is going to turn at some point. And so all they're doing is, okay, right there. Now, if I take this forearm all the way to the top, it almost goes this way, but eventually I've got to turn that thing about 90 degrees. So if I delay it by doing this, look, if I take it to the top, the club's going to look like that at the top of the swing. So at some point I'm going to have to turn that forearm so that it kind of matches up with what I'm doing with my right hand. So they're kind of doing something that's taking the club out of position at both the left forearm and the right wrist, and then they're asking you to do that in the second half of the swing and make up for it. Now, it can be done because you see a lot of people are very successful at this, but just don't think that you have to take the club back this way and that your death to your golf game is going to be if you get the club going back a little bit this way. It doesn't really matter that much. Now, let me tell you what's really important about the takeaway that they're not touching on, and that is the path of this end of the stick. So whatever the head is doing, look, I can take the handle back on the same path, keeping it outside, cocking it inside. This end of the stick took the same journey, and that's really what's most important to your golf swing to get it started so you can hit the ball really straight, as opposed to if you were to, let's say, do this. See, now I've got the hand path going up and away too much, and that's not as common, but the most common one that I see is making the hand path suck too far to the inside like this. Now, you could try to cover it up by doing this, but you've already made the enormous error of getting the hand path off the plane wheel that you'd like to swing on in order to hit the ball really straight. So keep this in mind. That takeaway advice, not necessarily the most sound idea in the world, and it is okay for you to get the club head moving a little inside the hands. It's not the death of you. You can play very good golf from there. So either way will work. Don't necessarily have to fix your takeaway if you find it cocking inside the hands early. Hey, I hope this tip helps your golf game a little bit. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Steve, and as usual, I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.